Hello, you're watching a special edition of CNN Newsroom live from London. I'm Max Foster. Interpol's Secretary General says he does not think the disappearance of a Malaysian airliner was a terrorist incident. Ronald Noble made the comments at a press conference just a few moments ago in which he revealed the identities of two men who boarded the plane with stolen passports. Investigators believe that Iranian Faria Noor Mohammed Meredad was trying to emigrate to Germany. The second man seen here has also been identified as an Iranian. Neither of the men appear to have terror links, though. Interpol officials spoke just moments ago about the stolen passports. And for more, I'm joined by senior international correspondent Nick Robertson. And that's the headline, isn't it? We were looking, or they were looking at possible terrorism links, and they're just not there at the moment.
They seem to be knocking it down, and the Malaysians do as well. The second man, Devler Syed Mohammed Reza, a 29-year-old, Iranian as well. They both travelled, according to Interpol, travelled to Kuala Lumpur on their Iranian passports. They arrived there about a week, on the 20th of February, a week before they took off on flight MH370. And this has been the crux of it. Stolen passports, ruling out whether this was an act of terrorism by the people who had those stolen passports. That seems to be the case. However, it still leaves open many questions about what brought the plane down, and the stolen passports issue has been dealt with, but potentially other passengers there could have been on board that aircraft with nefarious reasons, activities in mind. That's obviously something Interpol can't.
But these were the only two stolen passports on the flight?
That's what we know so far. The only two stolen passports on board the flight, and that's the important thing for investigators. And Interpol has been trying to highlight and take this as an example and say, look, we need to have more airlines cross-referencing and checking with our database of stolen passports, because, of course, these weren't. The head of Malaysia Airlines, talking to CNN's Jim Clancy, had indicated that there was a time issue, a time factor that would take a long time if you were to cross-reference with the Interpol database. But clearly Interpol is saying, you know, that in itself is not an excuse. It needs to be done. We need to be able to rule out these issues in advance.
So the investigation goes back to Malaysian Airlines, effectively, trying to find... I mean, what we've done here, we've discounted something, terrorism, but we still don't know what actually happened here.
We don't. And until that debris field is found, until the aircraft is found, until the black box recorders are recovered, we're unlikely to know. What we do know from Malaysian investigators is that they're looking at a number of issues, whether there were sort of arguments on board, the psychological condition of the crew, the relationships between the crew, whether all these sorts of issues. What Interpol has been very, very clear on, and Interpol has sort of been central to all of this. They discussed how they've worked with the Chinese and Malaysian police on all of this. Their analysis of the two men seems to really put it beyond terrorism. Anyway, this is how they describe, how the head of Interpol described.
Neither of these Iranian passports were reported stolen or were listed in Interpol's databases. Therefore, any airline, any border control agency comparing these passport names and numbers against Interpol's databases would not have had a hit.
So there he's saying, you know, they travelled on their Iranian passports to get to Kuala Lumpur. No suspicions would have been raised there.
OK, it's interesting to see at least that sort of side of the investigation is working, isn't it? Even if we still don't know what happened to these